Okay, sure. Well, my name is Lucas Gillispie. I'm an educator here in North Carolina. I've been working in North Carolina in education for about 17 years now. I started out as a high school science teacher, and then moved to the district level working with instructional technology. So I have some background at a master's level, instructional design, instructional technology, and now work as the Director of Academic and Digital Learning for Surry County Schools in Northwestern North Carolina. And my primary role is I work with teachers with professional development, partner with them in the classrooms as they are integrating digital learning into that space, and just kind of help them use technology to make learning fun and engaging.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Great. And then you also EduRealms, is that kind of just also what you do on this side as well?
Yeah. So that's a infrequent place that I blog, but basically my place where I put all of my resources when I go around and work with teachers, especially in the areas of games and learning and integrating games in the classroom. So that's sort of my hub for keeping everything in one place and organized.
Okay, great. So one thing that I think is fascinating is how you incorporate Minecraft and World of Warcraft into lessons or encourage others to do so. What does that look like?
Oh, wow. It's amazing because one of the things that I tell people about games and why they're really good and powerful for learning is that so often, we teach subjects and content in isolation. And a lot of times we lack that relevance and the context for learning. And so the beauty of games and leveraging games in the learning space is that the games themselves give us the context for learning, which is really powerful. So it's automatically like I have an excuse to learn this content because it's part of the game that I'm experiencing, either by myself or with my classmates.
So I may be making an assumption, Lucas, but I'm guessing at some point in your life, games or gaming was a big thing, and then you were also in education. At what point did those two kind of merge or cross paths, and how did that kind of come about for you?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite stories because it's all about kind of like this journey that I've experienced as an educator. So I've got my geek gear on snow day. So I started out playing games as a kid. I've grown up in games, from through the late 70s and early 80s and on. And it's been something I've always enjoyed. But what was interesting is as games evolved and became more complex and I kind of followed that, one of the things that I found was that that became a point of connection between me and certain students that were in my class. And then that number of students that were a part of that gaming culture grew over time too. So my classroom, when I was teaching, excuse me, my classroom became that place where students would gather together just to simply talk about games. And that's what we did. And so it gave me a point of connection with those students because of that shared interest. I influenced, excuse me, losing my voice. I influenced them in the gaming space, and they influenced me in the gaming space. So it was a place where the playing field was level. Students came in and said, one of my favorite stories is, I think it was my second year teaching. I had a student who came to me and said, Mr. G, I know you like fantasy literature and I know you like playing games. I'm playing this game called EverQuest. You should check it out. It's pretty awesome. And so eventually I caved and began to play this game. And he said, well create an avatar on this server. And then tonight I'll show you around. And so all of a sudden, this was between the two of us, we began to form a community, and then other students and other players became part of that community. And eventually we formed a player guild in that space. And so at that point, I began to realize that this was something pretty powerful, that this informal space for learning and connection with my students was really powerful. Helped me build relationships and rapport with them, but at the same time, gave me a space where I could reinforce the kinds of things that we were doing in the classroom. Now, we didn't spend time actually drilling down on or leveraging the game space itself for its learning potential at that time, but there was a lot of downtime in a game like EverQuest. And so we would use that time to say, okay, while we're waiting for this particular event to happen, or while we're running from point A to point B, let's review your physical science terminology, see if you're ready for that test tomorrow. And that, so we would do that. We'd be running around trying to dodge dragons and goblins, and I'm going over, basic Newtonian physics with him as we're running all, around and stuff. So that was sort of the seed for me, where I began to think, hey, there's something to this. But at the time, there was really it just was not in the realm of possibility and conceivability that this would be something that could become a reality in the classroom. And so then as I started my master's program, about midway through that, I started hearing about people like Kurt Squire and Constance Steinkuhler and people who were saying, hey, these games, you can learn from these games. And I was thinking, yeah, you can. I played Civilization through college, and it got me through Western Civ. I never had to crack the book, And so, and these guys are doing this with students and talking about really bringing these into education. I think, so there's something to this. So as I was wrapping up that program and we were moving forward, certain things kind of fell into place. I lead a charmed life. Everything is just kind of fell into place. It was amazing that I was at the district level and had great leadership and so I pitched this crazy idea to him. I said, so I'm playing this game called World of Warcraft, and I think it can teach a lot of interesting things like leadership and digital citizenship and all these really fascinating concepts. But I would like to do this as an after-school program, and let's focus on at-risk students. Let's get students who are in danger of dropping out or have behavior issues, academic issues, and let's see if giving them some identity in that space in Minecraft as a group, and then as a sort of teacher-to-student relationship and that sort of thing. Let's see what we could do with that, and we'll work on that. So, and I kind of talked a little bit about the game and the technical side of that. Well, at the end of my pitch, my supervisor said, I don't have a clue what you're talking about. I don't get this game, like all this game and technical stuff. I don't know what you're talking about. But she said, what you're doing and what you want to do for kids is a good thing. So let's see what happens. Let's do it. And that became the start of really one of the most awesome games and learning opportunities that I've had to work with. And so we started a program up. We worked with students after school. We took 15 students, boys and girls, a wide variety of backgrounds, and brought them in to that classroom and began to work with them. And we played the game. The teacher that I worked with at the school and his name was Craig. Craig and I got in and played with those students in that space. But there were times when we would stop, we'd pull back from the game and process. Let's talk about what happened when we went into that dungeon. Or we'd say, okay, go in, let's look at this quest that you have here. How do you know what to do in this quest? Get in there and read that text. What do you think that word means right there? So we're doing close reading, deep reading, analytical thinking, leadership, group skills. I mean, just all these amazing things that we say we want students to learn, but we never give them a good, meaningful context to do it in schools. And so that program evolved. It became so profound. The principal would come in and see students. She said, I never see these kind of behaviors in these students elsewhere. What are you guys doing? There's something magic going on here. And so we talked about it and decided to ramp it up. And so Craig and I spent a year writing a year-long curriculum for an enrichment course that was kind of focused on language arts. And we launched that the next year and ran it for several years, where we had students coming in. They were learning language arts skills, digital production, and digital citizenship. But at the same time, the game became the context for driving that forward. And then that opened up the door for things like once you've done World of Warcraft in school, you can do anything. So, Minecraft was next. Minecraft is just a no-brainer. It's such an open, easy platform to get students into. And then the creativity and the things that they can do in that space are just so amazing that I think I just talked to you, Greg Topo at USA Today the other day about this, starting in Minecraft in one district and then the district that I'm in now. And I've pushed it into 23 schools, or over 23 schools now. And it's just watching what students do and how teachers leverage that as a space. It's just been really powerful. And so that's kind of where I'm at. And I've dabbled in other things too. We've done some console stuff and mobile stuff because I just think games are such a powerful platform. And again, going back to what I originally said, they give us that context that's meaningful for learning.
What, obviously you have a strong, long gaming background. What advice could you maybe give to a teacher out there who's interested in bringing gaming into a lesson or a class or a district that maybe doesn't have that background? What are maybe some first steps or maybe some things they should think about if they want to go down that road because they see the value in it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I get asked that question a lot. So I've come up with kind of a list of things that I recommend that educators do. One, if you're really interested in this, but it's a little foreign to you, I say do what James G. did. And you read his book, What Games Have to Teach Us About Learning and Literacy. He tells the tale about being, seeing that there's something about this gaming thing that appeals to his kids, or his son, I think it was at the time. But he wanted to get started, wanted to explore that, and so he goes and picks up a game off the shelf. Now, I would recommend being a little careful about what he picked up a really tough game to start with. Ask around and find some games and just try some games. And when you do that, do what I call it putting your teacher lenses on. Look at, play the game and enjoy it, but at the same time, look at it through the lens of pedagogy and think like, okay, this game has to teach me something, because we're way beyond Pac-Man these days. They're incredible. Games are incredibly complex, and you don't just start out knowing how to do everything. World of Warcraft is a perfect example, and something that when I was studying instructional design, this light bulb came onto me. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm studying all these great theories about the instructional design process, yet these game developers have it down. They've nailed it, because they know that they give you a little bit of information, a little skill, let you go master that skill. Once you've mastered it, they ramp up the challenge, and at the same time, they give you new skills. So, and then your world also expands. I think it's a little more complex. And I thought, oh my gosh, if the classroom were like this would be perfect. This is how we should run classrooms. And so I tell teachers, just get a game and think about it through the lens of learning. Think about it from the content perspective, or about how that game teaches you, and try to think what that translates to in the classroom. Read what the experts say. Read James G. and Jane McGonigal and all the other great authors out there. I mentioned Greg Topo just released a book called The Game Believes in You. It's fantastic. And it gives you real life examples of how educators are leveraging games for learning. And, so that's one thing. Get your administration, once you're kind of ready to move on, talk to your administration and initiate, what the goals are. And then get your IT staff involved. If it's going to be certain, like World of Warcraft, probably going to need the IT staff involved, because there's going to be some filter firewall type stuff you're going to have to navigate. Connect to other educators out there. I'm big on building networks with other educators, and there are lots of other educators who are exploring this space. You're not alone. So connect with those other educators through social media, through websites, blogs, etc. And then your students are your primary resource. You've got all this brilliance in your classroom, these, all this untapped potential sitting in front of you if you're a teacher, and bring them on board and let them take some ownership and guide that process too. And you'll be amazed.
Great. And what is Epic Academy that I saw on your website?
So that's my new experiment. So Epic Academy is a program that I've started here in Surry County Schools, where we're attempting to gamify professional development and use a model called quest-based learning with teachers. So it's fully online. Teachers come into the system. It's very game-like in its design and uses and kind of co-ops a lot of terminology and stuff from the game world. But teacher players embark on quests, and these quests are like mini chunked lessons that build in complexity, one after the other. And so, for example, my favorite, one of my favorite ones, we have a series of quests that are all about Twitter and leveraging Twitter for professional learning and building your professional learning network. And so it starts off basic. It starts off about what is Twitter, an introduction, and then you begin to use Twitter for search and research. And then you buy in more with the next quest. You create your account. You go connect to other educators in the next quest. And then ultimately your sort of culminating quest is to participate as an active participant in a Twitter chat around a particular topic. Once teachers have gone through, they share artifacts and evidences of each of these steps along the way or reflections. They unlock a badge, a Twitter badge that we as the district certify as that they have done these sort of things and that we issue them that badge. And then they can go and choose other quests. So it's been really awesome to watch how teachers are navigating that space, and it's sort of anytime, anywhere, anytime, you know, PD for them. And they seem the feedback's been really good so far. So we're expanding it now. I've actually brought teachers in to start creating new quests. So now I'm bringing them in to create the new PD. So they're creating the PD that their colleagues will participate in. So we're adding in badges for all of the Google Apps stuff that we're using. We're a Google Apps district. We've got apps for quests for augmented reality that one of the teachers is developing for us. Coding, Skype in the classroom. It's awesome. So it's really cool. And so we're actually tying in. Not only do they get the badge and the ability to show off that, but they also get CEUs based off of their experience points that they accrue in the system.
That's really cool, Lucas, and that's something I know a lot of our teachers are interested to maybe reach out to you about or get more information on, because
Sure.
We're actually charging them with leading professional development in their own district. So the things that we're teaching them, we want them to go out and lead professional development, and that's something they may be interested in kind of motivating their staff or their team with. So as you continue to develop that, keep us in the loop and
Yeah, we'll do.
Let us know how we can maybe get involved in that.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to share. So you know, we can have that conversation as well. And like any of your teachers, tap me as a resource, and I'm more than willing to share everything we've learned so far, and ups and downs and do's and don'ts and that sort of thing.
Great. This has been great. Thank you.